Hi everyone! Today you're gonna listen to some wholesome stories from Reddit, all with permission from the OPs, while I try to, at first grab some sand because my house wasn't near anywhere with sand, and and while I move my things to my new base. So just chill, go to sleep or something, go study. I don't know, keep this on the background. So let's go to the first story. We took the worst dog the shelter had. Our last foster had gotten adopted, so we went to the shelter for another one and asked which one needed the most help. The staff introduced to a white young adult pitty named Mo. He came to the shelter from a hoarding case as a puppy with mange. His leg also hadn't developed properly, likely due to growing up in a cage. His mange had been cured, but his behavioral issues needed work. He had been at the shelter for 6 months. He had a cage mate, but he had been separated since he ended up fighting. We have other dogs at home, so this was a risk. We agreed to take the risk and decided to foster him. He had to be carried to and from the car, as he refused to move otherwise. He was sat in a crate. At first, he growled at the other dogs from the crate, and we weren't sure if this was going to work. We slowly introduced him to the other dogs until he no longer showed aggression towards them. We left the crate door open, but he stayed in there for days at a time. A couple months passed, and he had received zero adoption interest. Rescues wouldn't take him since he's a PT. Should I say PT or PT? How do you say that? Sorry. Quick question. English is not my first language. Well, back to the story. We know he needs a special kind of home, and that the average adopter may not be able to meet his needs and respect his boundaries. If triggered, he could end up biting someone and get euthanized. So we decided to adopt him. Ever since, he has been a complete mama's boy. He is the snuggliest out of all of our dogs and demands to go for walks. We also adopted a younger dog for him to play with since our other dogs are older. He is still wary of people, but he is the least reactive. He passes by other people and dogs out on walks without barking. He loves car rides and is very well behaved during them. This is substantial considering he used to be scared of going in the car. I post this story to hopefully inspire others to visit their local shelter and give a dog a second chance. The most wholesome moment. I, 22 male, have been living with my 25 female partner for a little under a year now. This is the first Christmas we've spent together, though we've known each other for a few years. She grew up rough, and I learned that she had never had a Christmas tree, or a chance to believe in Santa, or leave out milk and cookies, or get spoiled or anything. Now, I'm not a Christmas person. I don't require a big tree or lights or any of that, but I wanted to make her feel really special. So we had a huge tree, lots of gifts, lots of lights and food. On Christmas Eve, we left out cookies and milk and a little letter. Oh, childish, I know, but she never experienced that. I stayed up after she went to bed, played the part of Santa, replying to the letter and the cookies and milk, and adding some boot prints and flour around the house to emulate snow. Summer Christmas here. And it's in Brazil too. Our Christmas is during summer. And made sure in the morning there were a couple of extra gifts from Santa. Obviously, she knew it was me, but when she saw it all in Christmas morning, she hugged me very tightly and for a very long time and said, "Thank you for giving me a part of my childhood that I never had." I damn near crumbled. 100% most wholesome moment of my life. Edit. Thank you, kind strangers, for my first awards and kind comments. It's nice being reminded of the good people in the world. My dad apparently hears me say, "I love you" when he leaves. For some context, no one in my family is very verbally or physically affectionate. We never say "I love you" or often hug. We normally all just do things for each other because we all think actions speak louder than words. Unfortunately, because of this, saying "I love you" doesn't come naturally, and no one in our family really directly says it. However, I would always whisper it after my dad left for work. Mind you, I'm 20 years old and currently in university, but I would always say, "Bye, Daddy, I love you," just to myself every time he leaves. What I didn't know was he had a camera installed 2 months ago when we went on vacation to monitor the dogs in front door, and noticed I would whisper it every time he left. My grandmother recently died, and he shared this with me to comfort me, telling me about how it's his favorite part of the day and how he would check the camera every time he got to work to listen to it. I remember him telling me, "I'm glad you still secretly call me that. It reminds me that deep inside you're still my little girl." I hope this little tidbit brightens someone's day. I didn't expect this tiny moment to make my whole week. Today I was walking home from work super drained, earbuds in, just trying to get through the day. I passed by this little kid sitting on a porch who suddenly waved and yelled, "I like your shoes!" They were just my beat up sneakers, nothing fancy, but the way he said it so genuinely happy kind of hit me. I smiled for the first time all day. I am now the office young people expert, and I love it. So, I, 38 female, work in an office of mostly folks in their late 30s and 40s, me included. The only big difference is that I am one of the few who doesn't have kids. I am a dink. What's a dink? Let's research it. Oh, dual income, no kids. That's what it means. We're learning today. I am a dink. Now, unlike the horror stories that are here on Reddit, my coworkers are great and they never make their kids anyone else's issue. I actually love hearing about their weekends and seeing adorable photos on their community boards on Teams. It is a nice environment to work in. Having worked for the business for over a decade, I have cultivated a reputation for being cheerful, hardworking, energetic, and a bit childish. When I say childish, I mean that I often like kid oriented media. I will perk up when someone says their kid is playing a certain game, or someone will notice one of my coffee mugs during a Teams meeting and ask about the character on it. You see, my partner and I both love all forms of media and are not prejudicial based on who the media was originally targeted for. We will happily watch a string of gory horror films followed up with a few episodes of Bluey. The last 3 games on my deck played were Binding of Isaac, Outer Worlds, and Dreamlight Valley. This year so far I read 2 Stephen King books and reread the Percy Jackson series. This is just to show that while I enjoy adult-oriented media, I will watch, play, listen, read anything if people say it has value and a good story. So, this reputation has created an interesting side effect. I now have people calling, DMing me with questions to help them better understand their kids. Here are some examples. Woman with a rather shy preteen daughter was asking about books for her birthday. She sent me a photo of her daughter's bookshelf, and I could see there was a related series to one of the ones the daughter had, so I recommended it. The daughter absolutely loved it. I have a guy who calls me to ask all about the new Pokemon games and how to play for his young son. He knows I have played every title, so he comes with a list of questions from his kid to ask. I am now the Pokemon lady at his dad's job. I know he could Google it, but he appreciates that I explain in a way he can understand. It is adorable that he carefully writes down my answers so he can help his son later. Slang. At least once a week, I get a DM asking me to explain some meme, slang, or YouTube thing. It is mostly funny until a lady asked what gooning was. That was an awkward one, but we had a good laugh. And movie checks. My husband and I watch a lot of films, so we have usually seen every major thing that has come out. I often get asked about sensitivity such as animal distress or blood for the kids who might get scared. I also use this as a way to recommend other, less well known movies and shows. This is just to say that I love the people at my job. It makes me happy to see parents actively trying to understand their kids better and connect with them. I also like that they in no way judge me for my interests. They see it as a strength. Well, have a great day, folks. I participate in daily puppy parties. I work at a vet clinic. Whenever a dog is a little scared to let us do something, like trimming their nails or taking blood, but is super brave and let us do it anyway, we always reward them with lots of treats and pets. Where I work currently, we also say, "Yay!" nice and gently and give them a little round of applause. It's so nice being somewhere else in the clinic and overhearing a puppy party. The cats we give extra smooches and treats, but parties tend to be too stressful for them, so we keep it calm and quiet for them. Best father-in-law ever. This isn't a tearjerker, but I've 48 male, been married to my wife 46 female for 26 years, and we have 3 kids. I work a full-time corporate job, and I have been working evenings part-time as a bartender for the last 2 years to bring in extra income. After working fine dining for the last 2 years, last week I started working at a hotel bar. Nothing fancy, but like a mid-level hotel, like a Holiday Inn. Anyway, last night I'm coming back from the kitchen and I come back at the bar to see my father-in-law seated at one of the bar stools. He said he just wanted to come see the bar and see how I was doing. He ordered a quick drink and went on his way after about 10 minutes. My mother-in-law was in the car on a call from family overseas during all this. He then asked if I was off on Friday, which I am, so he told me not to make plans at night so we can go watch Superman at the movies. Again, not a quick story that is going to ask who's cutting onions near you, but we all hear horror stories about terrible in-laws. I'm 48 years old now, and this man is so different from the man I met when I was 21. He looks after me like his own son. He doesn't even seek out time with his other son-in-law like he does with me. Time and his grandchildren have softened him. I truly love that man. Have a great day, everyone. I found my neighbor quietly helping with our garden while we were away. We'd been away for a few weeks visiting my grandparents, and when we got home, I noticed the garden looked neat, like way neater than we left it. At first, I figured my dad had asked someone to help out while we were gone, but when I asked him, he was surprised to see the tidy garden as well. The next morning, I looked outside and saw our 70-something neighbor quietly weeding, gloves on, just whistling to himself like it was a regular part of his day. I was curious why he was doing this, and he just said, "Didn't want you coming home to a mess." He smiled and strode casually back to his yard. I don't even know what to say. He took this time to help us out when he could have spent it on himself or anywhere else. Some people have their own quiet ways of expressing kindness, and it is absolutely heartwarming. Added update: the day after I found out, we made him a big homemade apple pie using my mom's recipe. He absolutely loved it, and as a proper thank you, we are taking him out to dinner tomorrow. Yesterday, my child was sick, so we stayed home and it was epic. Yesterday, my kindergartners said that they were sick and couldn't go to school. They have never said this before, so my ears perked up. My concern for their health lasted exactly 5 minutes when they didn't have a fever and were acting exactly like themselves with no signs of illness. I decided to just say, screw it, and stayed home with them. I have a stressful job and didn't get much time off during the holidays. On the weekends, I do spend time with them, obviously, but there is a lot of running around doing chores and errands, so we stayed home. We went to the local conservation area and walked around in the forest in the snow, did groceries, played games, and snuggled all day long. Then, sometime in the night, they woke up and came into our room and snuggled with me back to sleep in bed. These snuggles were epic. I regret nothing, and I'm going to lie my ass off at work today about how they didn't feel well. I honestly just think my kid needed a chill day with mommy. Edit. Whoa, thank you everyone for your kind words. It's been very wonderful reading over all the comments of stories people have shared. Yesterday was kind of a rough day at work because of all the stuff I had to catch up on, so The encouragement was very appreciated. My recently widowed grandma nearly peed herself laughing at her own silly joke. My grandma became a widow last July when her grandpa passed away unexpectedly. Since then, while she's been happy, there's been a little bit of her spark lost. That was until this weekend. Our baby cousin had us play a game where we all wrote an anonymous note, and she would run around and hand them out to a random person in the family. As we were all writing our notes, we noticed my grandma giggling and smiling in the corner, eyeing up the whole room occasionally with a glint of childish glee in her eyes. At one point, she's laughing so much that she has to excuse herself to the bathroom, as she thought she was going to pee her pants from laughing. Eventually, it comes time to open the notes. My cousin, 21 male, is opening his note, and he sees a drawing of a penis. He naturally assumes that this was the work of one of our other cousins, but as everyone denies it being them, we see our grandma laughing uncontrollably in the corner, eventually getting out and overjoyed. It was me! I don't know how wholesome this really is given the context of the drawing, but seeing my widowed grandma get her spark back over 12-year-old boy's level of toilet humor certainly felt quite wholesome. My mom and dad have been divorced for like 32 years, and my dad's mom, my grandma, considers my mom her own. My grandma is on her last days and has been overall very miserable since losing her independence and having memory issues. But when she looks at my mom, all the pain and sadness wipes off her face, and I can see that she adores my mom. And for the first time, I realized my mom, who was abandoned by a shit mom and adopted by a critical one, was fortunate enough to find a true mother in my grandma. I always wonder how she was so well adjusted and such a good mom to me, and it's because she always had a mom who loved her. But it was just my dad's. Met a brave kid today. Hi everyone, back with another work story. Today I had the pleasure of cashing out a little kid and his mom. His mom said that he's shy and he's working on it at this children's institute. She was coaching him on what to say and how to use eye contact. Then I asked if I could give him a high five, and he did. This shy little boy who's working on his social anxiety gave me a high five. I told him that he was so brave and that I was honored to get this high five. I suffer with an anxiety disorder myself, and it healed something in me when I saw him overcome his anxiety for just a moment. His mom is also an amazing woman. She's constantly there for him and reassuring him that he's brave. Wherever he is, I know he's going to be amazing. Two Chihuahuas, one joint, and a stranger I'll never forget. I took my two Chihuahuas, Coco and Pixie, to the park the other evening. They are both tiny and both act like they own every square inch of grass they step on. If you've ever had a Chihuahua, you know exactly what I mean. 5 pounds of sass in a body the size of a shoe. We found a quiet spot under a tree where I could sit and have a moment. I lit a joint, took a slow breath, and let the dogs roam within the leash's limit. Pixie barking at literally nothing, and Coco trying to eat a leaf like it's a 5-star meal. A woman, maybe in her 50s, wandered by and paused when she saw the dogs. Chihuahuas? She smiled, already reaching into her bag. I had two of them. Mine were named Taco and Bubbles. I laughed and told her my guys' names. And before I knew it, she sat beside me on the bench. Just two strangers bonding over our love of neurotic little dogs and the chaos they bring. She asked if she could pet them, and when Pixie actually let her, a miracle, she teared up a bit and said, I haven't touched a chihuahua in 2 years. Lost both of mine during the pandemic. They got me through the darkest days. I offered her the joint. She looked surprised and laughed softly and said, Sure, why not? I haven't smoked since I was your age. For the record, I'm 40. It was a compliment, I'll take it. So there we sat, two humans from totally different lives, passing a joint, petting two ridiculous dogs, sharing stories about loss and love and the wild ways dogs and weed can heal a heart. Before she left, she said, You're doing a good job with them. You can tell they feel safe. I don't know why, but that broke me a little. and sometimes you just need a stranger to notice. So yeah, thank you Taco and Bubbles mom for sitting, for sharing, for reminding me that the world still has quiet kindness tucked in unexpected places. My boyfriend's dad visits me while I work. Hi everyone. So, I, 21 female, work in a train station doing retail. When my boyfriend, 20 male, and I started dating, we hid from his dad because he's super religious. I used to be very hesitant around his dad because I wondered if he approved of me. Fast forward 2 to 3 years later, I got this job doing retail while going to school. I don't remember when it started, but my boyfriend's dad would always say hi when he was passing by. My star is on his way to work. He still does it. All my coworkers and bosses know who he is. He doesn't have my number, he just always checks to see if I'm working. I think it's so cute and I wanted to share. I taught my neighbor's 75-year-old dad how to use emojis, and now he sends me one every morning. Yesterday was sunny, and today a very aggressive dragon. The person used emojis here for sunny and a dragon. What? We don't even text words anymore, just little emoji messages back and forth. It started with me helping him reply to a family group chat, and now it's kind of our thing. I think I accidentally healed a part of a mom's inner child today, and it was nice. So, to preface. So, to preface or preface, or preface, I don't know. I work at a touristy cookie shop in Savannah. A few days ago, someone dropped a little Hello Kitty mood ring, and my manager picked it up. The kid never came to reclaim it, so it was just sitting on the counter. It was so tiny it barely fit on my pinky finger. So I figured it would be a nice gift for a random little girl. A little family walked in. Two adults, maybe parents, maybe grandparents, and a little girl, maybe 5 or 6 years old. The little one was all dressed in pink, and as the woman and child came up to buy their cookies, I asked the little one if she liked Hello Kitty, and when she told me she did, I said, "Then I have a little extra treat for you," and handed her the ring. She said it was pretty and asked what it was, and I told her it was a mood ring and that it would change colors depending on how she's feeling. And the little one went to show the man the ring. The woman looked at me with a slight mist in her eyes and said, "You wouldn't have known this, but when I was little, there was a toy I wanted but never got. A mood ring. It was all the rage back in the 60s and 70s when I was growing up. You just made my day." It was a tiny moment, and I know it's not much, but it really feels like I accidentally healed a part of that woman's inner child by simply giving a kid a ring I found. I don't know the latest story, why she didn't get the ring or how she really grew up, but it just goes to show that when you do a little nice thing, you could be helping more than just the person you directly did it for. It felt really nice, and I just wanted to share it. My son said, "Bye, Grandad," and it was the sweetest thing ever. This post is by a woman 39 years old. My dad was a wonderful and amazing man who unfortunately passed away from cancer in 2008. He never got to see either of his children graduate from high school or college. It was brain cancer and had messed up with his memory. He was diagnosed 4 days after I graduated from high school, but didn't realize he had missed it until 2 weeks later. He never got to see us get married, he never got to meet his grandkids. I no longer live in my hometown, but whenever I visit, I make it a point to stop by his grave as I'm heading out of town. This tradition continued after I married my husband, 37 male, as well as after the birth of our son, 8 male. It started out with me standing out there alone, but they started joining me 3 years ago. We are heading home today. My son asked, "Why should I call your dad?" We've been referring to him as Grandpa, first name, but it was clear my son wanted to give him another name. So I asked him what he wanted to use. "I want to call him Grandad," he said. I told him, "I think he, Dad, would love that." We get to Dad's gravesite. I spent a few minutes talking to Dad. I told him my son was still a sweet boy making good grades at school. I said if he had anything to do with me meeting my husband, then I thanked him for sending me the most wonderful man ever. I then said, well, it's cold out here and son needs some food in his belly, so we're gonna head out. I love you, Dad. My son casually adds, bye, Grandad, before heading to the car. Instantly, my face gets buried in my husband's chest as appalled. He said it like Grandad was still alive and we were leaving his house. He said it like he had known Grandad his whole life and not only through stories. Neither my husband nor I had expected it, and it had us both in tears. I know my dad would have absolutely loved my son. Now I have confirmation he would have loved him back, and it's the sweetest feeling in the world. I realized today that I made a difference in someone's life. I generally try to be a nice person and make people's days better when I can. I think everyone can benefit from random kindness as you never know what someone is going through or if they're having a bad day. I had my last day at a cafe I'm a barista at, and one of my regulars who I love serving unexpectedly gave me a card and a small gift as a going away gift. Part of the card read, "You always made me feel special." Like I said, I loved serving this regular. I tried to make sure I made her drink so I could make sure she was getting good quality, and I would always hand deliver it to her instead of having her come up to the counter. Purely because she was such a sweet woman. Some people just have that demeanor, if you know what I mean. And she would be reading her book after ordering, so why would I want her to have to stop and get up to grab a drink? I had no idea it actually made a difference in her day. I've never had someone say something that has hit so deeply with her as that sentence. I never realized I may actually make a difference in anyone's life beyond the giving of my immediate family or significant others. And honestly, it's making me extremely emotional and I don't know what to do with these feelings, so I'm making this post. Edit. Thank you all for the sweet comments and awards. I wasn't expecting this to get as much attention as it did. Hope you all have a great holiday season. And those are all the wholesome stories for today. I hope you have a great day, great night, and subscribe or something. I don't know. Squishy hugs. Bye.